Let's wrap up Summer League for the Indiana Pacers, where their star rookie made second team All Summer League. Their star rookie from last year was so good he only played one game, and a bunch of other guys had some noteworthy performances as well. We'll get to it all today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and the Westside Community News. And today, we're finally finishing out recapping Summer League, where the Pacers went in with some high expectations, and then some of their players were so good that didn't even play enough for those expectations to matter at all. Fun 5 games for the Pacers. Their star rookie from last year was great. Their star rookie from this year was great. And those are the big headlines. We'll cover as much ground as possible in these 5 games with all the noteworthy players and the coaching staff. Joining me to talk Summer League from Pacers.com, Brendan Rourke is here. Brendan, did you enjoy Vegas? Do you like Summer League? How did you feel about the 5-game sample we got of actual basketball in July?
Oh, I love Summer League. I think it's a great way for rookies to get NBA experience near immediately right after the draft, get them in the right mindset to kind of start their new NBA career.
I like Summer League because the results don't matter. So, like, if you like basketball, you're going to enjoy the games. Like, even the last game against the Suns, I don't think anyone who watched that was like, that was the best game ever. But it was still fun because, you're watching guys who you've never seen before, and you don't care who's up by 20 or down by 20. It's just, oh, wow, look, I've never seen, David DeLeo rip off 8 straight points or whatever was happening at the time. That's what makes Summer League so fun to me. But from the perspective of the Pacers and what I'm sure their decision makers and fans thought was fun about Summer League was the guy they picked at their highest pick in 30 years was awesome. Bennedict Mathurin only plays in 3 games, still makes an all-Summer League team. I've seen a lot of people complaining that he wasn't on first team. I hear you. He also only played 3 games in like 68 minutes or something like that. Not a big deal. He still made one of the teams. He was awesome. And just going through the stats, even zoomed out, 19.3 points per game, 4 rebounds, 1.3 assists, shot 49%, 39% from 3, 77% of his free throws went in, and did it in a variety of ways. What stood out to you the most, Brendan, about Bennedict Mathurin in Summer League?
Well, I think the main thing was that he did not go out, trying to prove anything. He let the game come to him immediately. He shot 38% from 3 in college. His first shot in the NBA was a 3. Like, he knew what he was going to do immediately. He came out and did it. And then he showed his, physicality inside. Next shot was an alley-oop immediately from Chris Duarte, of course, the other star rookie last year. Same thing in the next game. He came out, shot a 3. And then, his third game with the 20-point game, he started, getting into it, getting more comfortable. And I think that's what he did better than a lot of, I would say, other rookies, is let the game come to him. He didn't try to, showcase his skills. He said, I'm good at 3s. That's what I'm going to start out doing. Bam, immediately. And then he went on from there.
Yeah, hits a 3 to start both the first 2 games for the Pacers. And to that point about just kind of settling in and playing his game, what kind of stood out to me the most about the stats and the way he was able to put up numbers is, and this was sort of what I thought would happen, but it still is encouraging that it went well, is in the first 2 games, Duarte's playing, Nembhard has the ball all the time, Ijax is out there, Dwayne Washington was playing. All these guys had the ball a lot. So Ben Mathurin's role was more off the ball. Get open around screens. Get open on elevators. Get open yourself, right? He didn't have the ball and create his own shot. And so he took a lot of 3s in those games. And then in the third game, no Chris in that one. A couple other guys are sitting out now. And they said, okay, you're going to have the ball more in this game. Your role is now to create a little more for yourself. And I think he had 10 free throw attempts in that game. I don't remember the exact number, but a lot, right? He got to the line a bunch.
Yeah.
He showed that he can get buckets in that variety as well. So they changed his role, not dramatically, but enough that it was noticeable. And he still was able to be really effective and be efficient and be a scorer. So even though I never want to say, oh, Summer League is this awesome litmus test for the NBA, no one ever has thought that. But the variety is what impressed me the most, because when he gets to the NBA, you don't want to just box him into a shooter as a rookie. You don't want to force him to be an ISO guy. You want him to work on all those things at once. So to see him succeed in so many ways, that's where he stood out the most to me in these 3 games he played.
Yeah, I agree. I would say everything you said there. I mean, again, I think he worked out his game at all levels. Again, he started comfortably, and he kind of showcased why the Pacers were all in on him by all accounts and picked him 6 overall.
Do you think he alone is a part of more alley-oops his rookie season the Pacers had all last year?
Alone, probably, especially because now Halliburton's going to have a full year.
That's
I would tell you, yeah, the first alley oop in Gainbridge Fieldhouse next year, everybody should be recording it because it's going to be probably the loudest Gainbridge has been in 2 years.
I think that KP already said this, and this is not related to Summer League, but he said this when they, at the draft presser and when they signed Jalen Smith, of like, this is probably the most athletic the Pacers have been maybe ever. I mean, some of that's just a consequence of being young. Young dudes have the speed and the bounce still, but Mathurin can jump. Duarte's showing a little bounce. Ijax is like an unusually freaky jumper. Dogs can talk on the show. It's okay. Unless they don't agree that Duarte can bounce. We love dogs here on Locked On Pacers. But anyway, yes, I think they will be the most athletic that they've been in years. And I think that we saw a little bit of that with Duarte, the lobs he was able to throw, the lobs he was able to finish, and mostly in terms of actual game impact on the defensive side of the ball. Stayed in front of guys pretty well. Wasn't jumping passing lanes, like wasn't a steals guy, which is fine. I'm not going to, 1.3 is nothing to me in terms of like, this is a good steals or bad steals guy. But stayed in front of his man, well, didn't foul too much, wasn't out of position so much. Like, he'll definitely need to work on his off-ball defense like every rookie will. But in general, I thought he held up well against pro-level competition for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everybody's got to work on something, and I think he's going to be up there in terms of minutes played, especially because the Pacers want to work him in. And I think that he's going to excel for the Pacers in every single way.
Yeah, they'll start. I'm sure he'll start 2, 3, whatever. I don't care about the number. I don't care what you call the position between who the 3 and who the 4 is on their team. And I will get very annoyed by you know this. You're on the team side. Like, they're going to list the starters for game 1, and Mathurin's name will be second in the tweet, and someone will be like, "Why is he shooting guard and not small forward?" And I will not care less about those sort of reactions.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people are gonna be quick on the draw to analyze everything, but I think we, like Mathurin, have to let the game come to him.
What did you think of, I thought something that is always noteworthy about Summer League to me is like the jump from being a college person, going to class, and you have, school stuff and basketball stuff all day, to the NBA life. You're playing and practicing, but then you like chill with your teammates and learn how to be a leader and learn how to deal with media and like all this. I don't want to say adulting stuff that like trivializes it, but it's a different sort of thing. And I was also interested, like seeing interviews Mathurin did on the sidelines or with media, and talking about how he roomed with Chris Duarte. I think was the last game they had that on the broadcast. Those sort of leadership traits, not even necessarily leadership, but just like teammate traits, are always fascinating to me. I think that's an under talked about part of Summer League, is learning all that sort of stuff and how it sets a baseline for how you can be a pro. So I think, one, having Mathurin room with Duarte, A+ choice, but 2, in general, I think that was a good environment for him to sort of get his feet wet in what the NBA will require of him in terms of that department of growing as a player and person.
Yeah, for sure. Rooming with Duarte is, probably the best decision the Pacers could have done, especially because they did play against each other in college, and now they got to be teammates. And I know they were kind of ribbing each other in a couple of the dual interview they did when they were both sitting out. And I think building that chemistry now is an advantage the Pacers will definitely use through the regular season. Duarte throwing Mathurin the alley-oop, I think that was his second bucket after the 3 against Charlotte was an alley-oop from Duarte. And I think building that chemistry in any way possible, whether it be, rooming them together for Summer League or, having dinner with your teammate, I think it's going to prove dividends way down the road.
Say what you want about Duarte playing in Summer League after being second team all rookie last year, but that's part of why. Even if he only plays 1 game, is you get that sort of stuff where he rooms with Ben Mathurin. They can learn each other. They can grow together. He can be a part of practices. Like, that's valuable to me, especially the foot thing was a part of it too. But I do want to pivot for a moment and talk about how Chris Duarte played in Vegas. Hey guys, let's take one little break from the Summer League talk to really quickly talk about betonline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all the latest sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games, betonline.net. You can find reviews of every league and their news all on there. Major League Baseball in the middle of their All-Star break, NFL, training camp starting soon, NBA, of course, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline's got it all, and they continue to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. They've got lines up for NFL Week 1 already. If you're interested in Colts Texans in about 2 months, you can get those lines. I believe it's -8 for the Colts over at betonline.net. Head over to that website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action happening today over at betonline.net, because betonline is where the game starts. So, look, I know that people joked about why is this guy playing? He's 25 and was second team all rookie last year, but like, also he was obviously too good for Vegas, right? Like, in the one game he played, what did he have? 17 on 6 shots, I think. I have this right in front of me and I can't even find it. 16 points he had on 7 shots. I had the last digit flip. Like, they couldn't stop him. He was hitting threes. And this was where you saw the growth of O'Shea Brissett in Summer League last year, was that the handle is improved just enough that they can just get by lesser experienced defenders and get into the lane and get fouled, right? And that is such a big growth point. Like, even though Brissett wasn't making as many threes last year in the NBA, he had more handle. He could do more things with the ball, and that allowed him to play more. And so even if for Duarte it's just a minor improvement thing where he showed, yep, I can still shoot and I can handle better than all these guys, great. That'll be very helpful for him as he grows into year 2 in the NBA.
Yeah, and I think along with his handles, you said, getting to the free throw line, he did have 9 free throws in his only appearance, which I think, counts to your point of being able to get by these, lesser defenders. And I think also where he grew was his overall leadership. He was supposed to be, quote unquote, the guy coming into the Summer League roster, and he commanded the floor when he was on it. He made sure his guys got the, the passes they needed to showcase their skill, especially the younger guys. He didn't, again, do too much, making sure his toe was okay, making sure everything was okay. I mean, you saw the difference basically as soon as they took Duarte off for the rest of the 4 games, just in leadership and, who is driving the offense. Yeah, Nembhard got a good look at point guard the rest of the way, but Duarte controlled game 1 for the squad.
That, and he was really good at the point of attack on defense. I don't think any wing on Charlotte had a good game in that game, or any guard. I think their best shot taker in that first game was like 1 for 11 or something. So yeah, he played well all in that game, and I didn't think he needed to play at all, especially given the toe thing. So the fact that he played once, played well, that checked every box that I think the Pacers needed to see. And again, now, like, if he doesn't play, I don't think they can stick him in a room with a player. So I think a lot of the value was get to know your other young teammates, like everybody but Halliburton, basically, who looks like they're going to be in the rotation for the Pacers and is young this season, was there. So very telling, very helpful to have those guys together. The other rookie from last year, Isaiah Jackson, really interesting Summer League to me, because on one hand, in the second game, Neemias Queta kicked his butt a little bit, right? He had some tough experiences defending in the post, on the glass. On the other hand, in the third game, he didn't miss a shot and looked unstoppable because he does stuff that, as TJ McConnell and Norwood always joke about, like, they're used to seeing it from the Pacers side, but they're like not normal basketball activities to see on the floor. So you kind of got to see both things to me of like where I kind of feel like Isaiah Jackson is right now. Like, he should be playing, I think, for the Pacers every game this coming season, because he has these crazy physical traits that are super, super unique for an NBA player. Pacers have to explore that and see what he can be. He also has some kind of big warts at his position that he'll have to overcome to be playing, starter level minutes or in a more defined role. So I still think he had a positive Summer League in terms of showing growth, especially on the defensive end. He had some insane blocks, was recovering to everything, like was the captain of that side of the floor, but definitely had some growth points that he obviously showed as well.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think as far as the defensive end's concerned, his play on the boards was really shining through these summer league games that he did play. He had, I believe it was 21 rebounds in 2 games, at least the first 2 games. I know he had in game 1, he was 1 point shy of a double-double in just 19 minutes. I mean, he definitely worked on his rebounding, I would say. I would say his weakness is staying in front of his defender still. I think he jumps a little too early trying to get that block, but when he gets that block, it's definitely breathtaking the way he can get up there and defend the rim.
He's so fast with his feet and hands that, one, I think he got steals a lot growing up. And two, when he didn't, he could recover, like always, right? And he's even said that last year. I think they played the Clippers at home, and it was the game where during the season last season, he was like, I've been working on it every day. Coach would tell me, like, I've got to stay down. Like he fell for every shot fake as a rookie, right? Like right when he gets onto the ball is definitely his weakest point right now. I would say defensively still had some of those moments in summer league, but he also showed some of the recovery stuff, right? So that kind of tells me, like, if he gets that discipline down, like, what can you do besides just be stronger than the guy? But at the same time, he still has a lot of work to do in that department. Interesting summer league for him. He didn't handle the ball as much as I would have liked to see, which there's a ton. That was kind of one of the things about this Pacers summer league team that was fascinating to me. Is there were a lot of guys that I wanted to see handle the ball and see how they were growing there, but there's only one ball. I can't have 7 guys dribbling every possession for my brain and evaluation. So it is what it is on that department. But hit half his like 4 3-point attempts, I think 5 3-point attempts. Still shot it well, like you said, almost has a double-double in the first game. I'd say to find summer league, they pulled him at the right time after his best game, but definitely showed where his growth points are. One more guy I didn't put in our outline that you will not be surprised to hear me ask about: Aaron Nesmith. Definitely the weirdest summer league of anybody. After 2 games, like, hey, you can finally play. Couldn't really practice. Like, could be around the team. They showed him sitting with, Jalen Smith and Tyrese Halliburton during the first game, and he was around, but trade wasn't done yet. Can't get out there. So he had an interesting summer league to me because he had to grow with the team as it went. But also, after a first game where he shot well from 3, he did not shoot well the rest of the way, despite having good rebounding games, good steals games. The thing I wanted to see the most of from him didn't really happen. How did you kind of view what he was able to do in Vegas?
Yeah, I think exactly what you said with Nesmith was he had to learn as, with the team. He was thrown into the fire, basically, in a team that was so well equipped for, summer league with all these, quote unquote returning players, if you want to call them for summer league. That he did the best he could. Definitely, I would say he probably wanted to shoot better. I think even Coach Noor had said that that Aaron said he wished he shot better in a couple of interviews. I don't want to put words in Noor's mouth, but I think that's what he said. And then I think he showed what he can do. I think a couple of drives to the basket were a little loose with the way he was controlling the ball. I think he turned it over a couple times. I want to say, he had 2 turnovers against the Wizards, and I had another one and a couple of turnovers.
The Suns. Yeah,
he had 5 against the Suns, and I think that was just, being a little too loose with the ball, trying to kind of get him out of that quote unquote, shooting slump with an easy layup. But he went a couple, he went too fast a couple times in the paint, lost the handles on it. But I think overall, I think it's still positive what he did. Being thrown into the fire isn't that easy. Waiting around for, all the things to be official for a trade isn't that easy. And I think he handled it to perfection.
I would definitely say I wanted to see more. And his skill set doesn't really tailor to like, wow, this guy really pops in summer league. He's ideally, I think for the Pacers this season, he will be a shooter, like run around like a maniac and shoot threes. And that's great. That's a good role to have. That's also really hard to have be your role in just summer league, especially when A, they're trying to give him reps with the ball to see what he can do. And B, he's never been that ball guy before. They don't have the capabilities to just have him be a straight up shooter out there. So, I would have liked to see a little more, like you said, some of those drives where Aaron Holiday had this problem a lot as well. Like, the idea to drive was correct, but the then the thought of what do I do if I get stopped in the lane? They don't have that part of the plan. So when they get cut off, Neesmith and Holiday had this problem of like sometimes they would jump when they shouldn't jump, or they would turn around and pick up their dribble. Those sort of little things where if you just keep dribbling out to the other wing or see where your teammates are right when you start driving, those sort of little things that are hard habits to develop. But when you can get them, they really help your game. I think Neesmith can grow in those areas. Let's pivot to some of the other first-year guys. For the Pacers, I should say first-year guys, because Neesmith is not a first-year player. Most notably, the 2 second-round picks. Yeah. Brendan, I have a summer league crush every year. This year, it was Andrew Nembhard. He didn't have eye-popping stats. He wasn't doing anything crazy like alley-oops like Ben Mathurin was, or jumping out of the gym like Isaiah Jackson. But the way he can handle the ball and cut into the lane and pass in traffic and just be a general creator who has speed with the ball. Even he shot 35% from the field and 21% from three. And still, I walked away impressed with the way he was able to navigate through defenders, navigate his way into the paint. He led the team in assists out there in Vegas. And I think he will struggle as like a shot finisher at the pro level, especially in year one. But running an offense, running pick and roll, seeing where his teammates are, basically the things we just talked about that Neesmith needs to get a lot better at. Nembhard was really good at those in a way that really stood out to me in Las Vegas.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he had a game-high 9 assists versus Washington. I mean, the passing ability is there. The ability to read the court is there. And, he averaged 5 assists over his 5 games. And I think that's exactly what you want from a rookie point guard who knows he's probably going to be third as far as the point guard position goes, with Halliburton and McConnell ahead of him. And, I would say what he's going to be this year. He showed exactly that in the summer league. I mean, he's going to be a minutes eater if somebody accidentally, tweaks an ankle, which might happen in the 82 game season. Who knows? He'll be a solid minutes eater. He'll give you an assist here and there as a third point guard. He will continue to get better as far as, finishing. Yeah,
I think so too. And he can get pretty deep into the paint. Like, he actually people were talking about like, man, who Andrew Nembhard reminds me of is Malcolm Brogdon. And I was like, no, I don't see that. He reminds me a lot of McConnell, actually, with the way he probes into the lane and is able to pass once he gets there. But I think he projects as a better shooter and finisher than McConnell does, at least as of right now. And I think McConnell's a better defender and probably will be. But Nembhard has more, that sort of offensive package to me in terms of getting by dudes, running pick and rolls, getting in the lane and passing in traffic. Like, that's where McConnell's bread and butter is. That's what he does to drive the Pacers offense. Is he's an engine. He makes the defense move. That's where Nembhard really stood out to me, because obviously Mathurin was awesome and Duarte was awesome, but they didn't have a lot of guys who could do that. And it was really apparent when he was in and out of the game, the kind of positive impact that he was having. The other rookie, Kendall Brown, I think NORAD had one of my favorite notes from practice before they left one day when they were talking about Kendall Brown. He said they were doing a drill, one of those, suicide line drill, whatever you call them, when you played, where you touch all the lines. And he was watching everybody run, and they were all kind of close. And he turned around to say something to one of the staffers who was there, and he turned back, and Kendall Brown was like 20 feet ahead of everybody else. He was that much faster in that setting in practice. And so I was really intrigued by what his athleticism could be. And a lot of times how this goes, veteran players come into camp and they're like, this is the most athletic rookie I've ever seen. Yeah, okay, whatever. But I think you saw what they meant talking about Kendall Brown in Vegas. The athleticism was there, the dunks were there, and where really he stood out to me is defensively. The athleticism let him stay in front of guys, let him jump in those passing lanes, 2 steals per game. I think that is where he looks like he'll be a little better to me as a rookie, is on the defensive end. Even though he was able to be quick with the ball and finish well around the rim, I think he hit something near half of his shots out there. Yes, exactly half of his shots out there. But he impressed me quite a bit as well. Just the speed was there, the athleticism's there. Honestly, a lot of the guys who might be on the Pacers this season had pretty good stints out in Vegas, I would say.
Yeah, I would say all around the Pacers and Pacers fans should be happy with, everybody. Speaking to Brown, I mean, he definitely showed his athleticism. Like you said, I think NORAD said the best trait he had after the last game was just his overall chemistry with teammates. He may have tried a little too hard in the Suns game to kind of, I don't want to say show off because that's what summer league you're supposed to do. But he may have tried to lead the pack a little too hard in against Phoenix. But I think everybody on the Pacers had a kind of down game against Phoenix. His best game was definitely against Washington. I'd say 14 points. I believe he led the team that day. He had a couple of blocks as well in that game. I believe. Oh wait, against Washington. Yeah, he had 14 points. He had a couple of blocks, like you said. He had a steal defensively. He was active. He finished 6 of 10 from the floor. I mean, he played everywhere, and he played 25 out of 40 minutes. I mean, there's nowhere to go but up for almost all of these people, Brown included.
Gutting for Terry Taylor that he doesn't fit the category of ex-first-round pick. He's not a rookie. He's not a first-year Pacer. So he doesn't fit any of the categories I've already run through of players to talk about. He was fantastic. I mean, he was their best player in, I think, 2 of the 3 games he played in. Will continue to be a very fun player for me to evaluate just because there's not many 6'5" guys who get 4 offensive rebounds per game and can score the way he does and finish the way he does. We had to talk disappointments. There were a few to me, which is interesting because none of them, at the moment at least, look like they could be on the Pacers roster this coming season. Dwayne Washington clearly struggled when he got out there, got waived in the middle of it all, which was, again, certainly very weird. But shot really – it's weird to evaluate his summer league because he was really good in summer league last year. But this year really struggled to put the ball in the basket, ended up only at 8 points per game, over 8 shots per game to take it there. He was one guy who really struggled to me. Gabe York only shot 36%. He did well from 3, especially in the last few games of Summer League. And then Nate Hinton, same thing. He was really struggling to put the ball in the basket. So the 2 guys who finished the season on a 2-way for the Pacers, and one of the 2 who spent most of the season on a 2-way for the Pacers last year, were the 3 that I would categorize to me as the most disappointing compared to the expectations, at least that I would have had for them out there in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you too in every single way. I think we saw kind of Dwayne Washington Jr.'s, and you want to call it the sophomore slump early, but I think he kind of tried to emulate or kind of mirror what he did last summer league, which is go out and take shots, and that's what he's known for. And unfortunately, they just didn't fall for him this time. I think he didn't do anything too bad. I think the shots literally just didn't fall. I thought he had a few good open looks. He might have, pushed the tempo a little too much a couple of times, but I think it was just a case of shots not falling and it not being your time. And of course, the weird waving scenario. I think it was just, a bad draw for Dwayne this time around. Gabe York, again, I think it's the same thing you said. We kind of know Gabe York's game, long ball shooter on the wings. And again, I think they just didn't fall for him. So it came off as kind of, disappointing in a way. But sometimes the shots don't fall.
Sometimes they don't. And that can be tough, like in a 5-game sample. And like that kind of goes both ways too. And you talk about disappointments, like Mathurin has one bad shooting game in the first 3 games. And, how differently do you evaluate his time out there? If Chris Duarte's first game was poor, like, does he play again? You never really know with that sort of stuff. So there's, I think, 7 guys whose name we haven't mentioned yet. And I won't run through their names, but I will say that anyone in the orbit that we haven't mentioned yet stand out to you. There's a couple of guys that played that could be in camp for them. There's a couple of guys who are just trying to prove what they could be. And to some people who are still listening, like I've been asked this a lot and it's hard to answer. Last year, about 2 weeks after Summer League, they scooped up DeJon Jarreau, who played for Miami's Summer League team and played very well for them on a 2-way. So like, even though the player wasn't on your team, that could matter for the Pacers and vice versa. Like these guys that, maybe aren't necessarily in the Pacers orbit now, like they're still playing for that sort of thing, that sort of potential call-up opportunity. In that realm, did anyone stand out to you in terms of how they played out in Vegas?
I think the main person I would say in his limited time was David DeLeo. I mean, what he did, 9 points against Sacramento in his limited time, 8 points against Phoenix. It ended up being the team high because just everybody had a down game again against the Suns. I mean, his physicality and hustle for loose balls and boards, that won't go unnoticed. And I think that will not necessarily earn him any, specific contract. Can't really talk contract talks, but like that's not. I think it earned him a few looks from a lot of teams, the way he just carried himself when he was out there. Of course, he probably wanted to shoot the three better because that's what he was known for at Central Michigan. But I think he, again, did whatever he could to prove, he did the small things that you want to see from these, guys who may not be, top headline news coming out of the draft. He did the best he could with what limited time he did.
He shot really well from three, like you said, in Central Michigan, shot over 38% both of his seasons overseas, and shot 39% in Summer League for the Pelicans last year. So, yes, he did not shoot well for the Pacers this year, but I still, like you, multiple times, tweeted about this or said it on this show. It was like, this guy's impressive to me in the way he gets open, how quickly he gets the shot off, and against the Suns, he was their best player in the first half by a mile because when he gets hot, he's just unstoppable because he gets off so quickly when he gets open. Like his highs, clearly as a shooter, are what made him stand out to me. I agree with you that he was one of the two guys who I wouldn't have thought about too much pre-Summer League. That stood out to me. The other one was Simi Shitu. I believe a teammate of Aaron Nesmith for a year at Vanderbilt, although I need to look into that. But Shitu played in all 5 games, which was not necessarily the most common thing for these guys. Shot 55%, was a bully on the glass, was a bowling ball rolling to the basket off of screens. Like he was just kind of their enforcer, and no one else on their team really played that role. So maybe that's why he stood out so much. He was in a unique situation, but he played pretty well to me. He was their best player over the total of their last game. He played pretty well down the stretch for them. I walked away pretty impressed with what he's able to do, at least at that level of basketball.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he, again, showcased what he could do. Again, like you said, the enforcer role that these small market teams like Indiana are going to need to, keep pace with these, big 3 teams and things like that. So I think down the line, if he works on, what he needs to work on, he can probably fit himself to a nice role-playing spot. Like you said, against Phoenix, 7 boards against Phoenix and a down game for everybody. And I believe the second most points was 6 points. Fanbo had 7. But, I think he did play that role really well in his limited time.
Anything else you want to highlight from Summer League, whether that's Fanbo's SpongeBob shoes or anything like that?
Fanbo's SpongeBob shoes were a hit. I just wish he got a couple more shots to fall. When he hit that 3 against the Suns and the crowd erupted, that was really nice for him.
That was cool.
Again, I think Fanbo's an interesting prospect. I believe he's only 19 years old. And, I think he can only go up. First taste of Summer League. I'm sure he wanted to be a little better. I'm sure he wanted to show off his athleticism a little more. But other than that, I think we covered it.
Yeah, we'll see where he grows from the Ignite, where if he gets that Exhibit 10 reportedly with the Pacers, if he comes into camp and can show anything there, who knows what his status is, but I was intrigued by what he could do. They did try to get him in more games. He played in that first game. When they had every single guy healthy in that first game, they still put him out there. Brendan, as always, thanks for the time. Much appreciated. As we enter the official doldrums of the offseason, where can people follow you and all your work covering the Indiana Pacers?
You can follow me at B_Rourke Sports on Twitter. That's my main platform. And then you can find all my work on Pacers.com under the news section. Did all the recaps for the Summer League games. We'll be coming out with some Summer League kind of wrap up, some blog type posts, by the numbers, things like that, just to keep the content rolling and keep the good vibes going.
I will appreciate that, so I don't have to star Real GM Summer League stats page anymore, and I can have it all in a much more easily packaged place. Everybody, thank you for listening. Tomorrow, you'll get me solo talking about contract extensions, what does and doesn't make sense for various Pacers players. We'll cover every newsy thing that comes up for this team coming in the summer, and a mailbag coming next week. Don't ask questions yet. I need to have them all in one place, but you all want to be around for all those. So thank you guys a ton for listening today. Have a good one, and we will see you tomorrow.